How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another edition of our show. Today we are going to talk about yet another joint. This one, very important, our hip. Now our hip, that's where we get our power. That's where we do our kicks. That's where we do our movements. That's where we do our escapes, our acrobatics, everything. So we need to use them well, and we need to be very effective with our hips. So what are the hips for? Movement, my friend. All right? Hips are meant to be used as a mobile joint. And this is what we're going to do with our hips. It's all related to our lumbar spine. So remember, our lumbar spine, the lower back is meant to be stabilized. We don't like to have a lot of motion. If we have motion from our thoracic spine, we're better suited. And if we have motion from our hips, we're also better suited. Every joint is doing what it needs to do. Boom, we become way more powerful. So let's look at this image right here. We got two players moving around, playing around. We got this first one here to our left. We could see her lumbar spine is more in neutral, right? Both players' legs are going about the same height, but the second player to the side here, we notice that there's much more of a curve in his spine over here. So this is a common sign of lack of mobility at the hips when we're playing around. It's not a major deal, meaning that we're not necessarily going to have an injury or so, but we're not going to be as athletic as our first player. Let's look at an esquiva position here. When we're dodging here, we see this kind of stance more so with experienced players, right? We're able to open up the hip here in front and in back with the back leg here. The second player, this is more often a beginner stance where the hip joint is not as mobile, so the space in between both legs is much smaller, meaning that we're less suited to dodge anything, and we're curving the spine. Now in this particular example, because we are horizontal, curving the spine won't be that much of a detriment or a risk of injury. But we still want to be athletic, so we want to know how to move, and we're going to see just an example how to measure our hip mobility. So I'm going to go on the ground here, simple leg raise, one stays on the ground, the other one goes up, and we want to get 90 degrees or more in our hip. So let's see that example. Is I'm not just lifting my leg, I'm using my core to stabilize my leg. So my core muscles or my stomach muscles here are stabilizing so that when I'm on the ground, I'm able to lift my leg. So mobility comes from the stability of the spine. Mobility of the hips will be as if its anchor point will be our lumbar spine. Now that we know this, there are many different exercises that we could do on the ground just to maintain mobility. I'm sure you've seen these exercises before. I'm going to give you just a few examples of what you could do in a warm-up stance or anything like that. And I hope it helps you, but there's more to come. So let's have a look at a few little exercises here. So that's just a little sequence, very common. The most important thing to do is to breathe. Why? Everything that's related to mobility, if we're able to relax through breathing, we're able to relax our muscle fibers even more, and we can get more range of motion. I hope this helped you guys out. We're gonna touch much more on hip mobility a little bit later. And if you have any questions or comments, please write them down. Any suggestions of future videos, and I will let you guys know. And as always, thanks for watching.